Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
This is what falling off the cliff looks like.
The governor delivers the worst of news. So what's next?
We spend our time focusing not so much on the cuts, but rather how we continue to deliver in every community across Louisiana.
How the state's two-year college system is handling the cuts.
We had to make the United States more perfect under the Constitution.
A civil rights hero and how a Baton Rouge church led change.
Hi everyone, I'm Andre Morrow. Much more on those top stories in a moment. But right now on SWI, the state we're in, a look at the week's other headlines.
A groundbreaking this week for Entergy's $872 million power plant in Westlake in Calcasieu Parish. The plant should go online in 2020. Since 2012, Southwest Louisiana has seen about $55 billion in new industrial construction projects, with billions more planned. Unemployment fell for the 8th straight month in Louisiana. The jobless rate fell to 4.6% in December from 4.7% a month before. The state unemployment rate was 6% a year ago. Louisiana's state political scene has headed north for a few days to the nation's capital to celebrate Mardi Gras festivities. Governor John Bel Edwards and several thousand state leaders make the trek to Washington for the annual carnival season tradition. LPB will be there to cover it. Among the headliners for Jazz Fest 2018 are Aretha Franklin, Sting, Aerosmith, and Lionel Richie. The festival is set for the weekends of April 27th through the 29th and May 3rd through the 6th at the New Orleans Fairgrounds. A record 12 million passengers went through New Orleans Armstrong International Airport in 2017. The airport says more than 20 new flights in the U.S. and abroad are the reason. More new international flights are in the works, and the airport's brand new billion-dollar terminal is expected to open in 2019. A switch in the state's tourism slogan. Gone now is Pick Your Passion to make way for Feed Your Soul. Lieutenant Governor Billy Dungesser says the new brand tells travelers they can make soulful, rewarding memories in Louisiana.
A $2.4 billion hit to hospitals, zero state funding for TOPS, $125 million less for various public safety duties. Governor John Bel Edwards began the week with the bad news of what state spending would look like if lawmakers do nothing to find a new source of money. And LPB's Kelly Spires, you were right there listening to it all.
Andre, as dramatic as these numbers seem, the presentation came as a surprise to no one. We knew this was coming because lawmakers chose to fix a budget hole left by former Governor Bobby Jindal's administration with temporary taxes that expired this summer. Let's see what they're saying. Folks around the Capitol call the impending almost billion-dollar revenue shortfall the fiscal cliff.
These are the choices that have to be made when $1 billion in revenue is set to roll off the books and has not yet been replaced. This is what falling off the cliff looks like.
The state constitution requires the governor present a budget to the legislature only with revenue that official economists say is there.
The budget proposal that we are presenting to you this morning is not one that I'm excited about. It's not the one that I want to be presenting to you today. It's the one that I believe I'm constitutionally obligated to deliver today.
The state currently charges 5 cents in sales tax on most purchases. In July, the state plans to charge 4 cents, and it's set to reinstate many sales tax exemptions that lawmakers cleaned up 2 years ago. That will make the pool of money that lawmakers have the most flexibility with, called the State General Fund, shrink from $9.6 billion to $8.6 billion. But lawmakers have a list of items they constitutionally have to pay for first. After that list was checked off last year, they had $5.3 billion remaining. This year, they'll have $4.5 billion. And after that, there are items required by regular law. That leaves even less money to play around with. There's about $1 billion in cuts to state dollars. The largest chunk is in the Department of Health at $656 million. Some of that money is to meet federal obligations. Without it, the state also loses federal dollars, ballooning to a $2.4 billion cut. There's a $25 million cut to the money that goes directly to colleges, but no state money would go to the top scholarship program, losing $233 million. Half of the money for Go grants, which help low-income students, would be eliminated at $13 million. About $125 million comes from various public safety duties like prisons, state police, and local sheriffs. Another $40 million is skimmed from various other state departments like the Department of Revenue or Natural Resources, mostly in chunks less than $5 million. Another $10 million cut will be split by the legislative and judicial branches. The overall budget, including all types of funds, is projected to drop from $30.2 billion to $27.4 billion. The $1 billion drop is in a pool of money called the State General Fund. The bulk of that money is formed by the taxes you pay to the state on your purchases and on your income. Taxes on oil and gas coming out of the ground make up 4%. Corporate taxes are just over 3% of that pool. Another 7% is from taxes on gambling. The rest is from other sources.
When the legislature had the opportunity to dive deep into the budget and make necessary reforms, with the benefit of recommendations from a task force that you created specifically for that purpose, you didn't take it.
How to fix the problem? In 2016, lawmakers also established a task force full of state budget, taxation, and economy experts to decide what the best course of action would be to restructure the state tax system with lower rates and a fair share for everyone. It was a tall order. They met weekly for months on end, and then they came up with a report. Last year, the legislature failed to implement a single measure from that report.
So the problems haven't changed, and the solutions haven't changed. The only thing that continues to change is the amount of time that we have left to summon the courage to make the tough decisions.
However, the majority of the legislature is Republican, and conservatives think the governor isn't looking hard enough at how the state spends its money. Senator Sharon Hewitt is from Slidell and has an engineering background, so she knows her way around a spreadsheet.
One of the things that I have looked at, and I know that you all have looked at this also, is what does it cost us to deliver services in the state of Louisiana relative to other states?
Hewitt says the state isn't efficient in the way it spends its money, that other states are able to produce the same services for less tax dollars. Edwards issued a challenge to lawmakers.
For those of you who insist that we can cut our way out of this, identify the cuts.
The question is, Andre, whether Governor Edwards' presentation will bring anyone closer to the negotiating table to find a solution for the shortfall. The governor wants to have a special session in February to fix the issue, but they're running out of time. So will the cuts change anyone's mind? We'll see.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Great report on that. And in the coming weeks, we'll have stories explaining how we got into this budget mess and the argument for spending reforms. Well, the state community and technical college system also feels the brunt of budget cuts. SWI talked with system president Monty Sullivan, who has had to think outside the norm to ensure success for students. His leadership has shown positive results. The Lumina Foundation, for 2 years now, ranks the school system #1 for the percentage of working age adults with high quality secondary degrees. Two-year colleges feel the brunt of budget cuts just like regular four-year colleges. Right. How do you cope then?
You know, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be with you on the show. And you're right, we have certainly felt the brunt of cuts. We've been cut by about $80 million over the last decade. However, we spend our time focusing not so much on the cuts, but rather how we continue to deliver in every community across Louisiana.
What is the relationship like with the other universities, the 4U universities. You're fighting for the same money. So are boundaries crossed, and is it a dog-eat-dog world?
You know, I tell you, our missions are very different, yet we spend much of our time together because we're trying to accomplish the same goal. And there was a time when we probably did fight over resources, but I have to tell you that the constrained resource environment has forced us to work together like never before. We have great partnerships with our University of Louisiana system, with LSU and with the Southern system, transfer opportunities, but as well opportunities to work alongside one another with industry to solve those workforce needs.
You partner with businesses in Baton Rouge, Ardendale, also the Automotive Training Center with All-Star. You think out the box, it seems like, in some cases.
Well, we certainly believe that we have to start with the business's needs in mind, and that happens all across Louisiana, from Sasol in the Lake Charles market to right here in the Baton Rouge market with All-Star, as well as a number of other dealerships. If you look up in the northwest part of the state with what's going on with our colleagues at CSRA in the cybersecurity industry, our colleges align themselves with those businesses and have a better fundamental understanding of what the businesses need from a workforce perspective. That helps to inform what the colleges offer. It also helps the students to be able to gain employment readily after completing programs.
I read an article about how country music is helping Louisiana's community colleges. What's that all about?
When we look at the enrollment in colleges all across the country, two-year colleges in particular, African American males and white males in rural communities are two groups that are underrepresented. And so we started a dialogue with our friends at Viacom, a national and international organization that has several different brands, but one of those brands is Country Music Television, who for a number of years now has had an Empowering Through Education initiative that we have now formed the very first statewide partnership with CMT. We'll have 8 separate venues across the state of Louisiana in March, where we will hold events on the college campuses that will bring traffic to those campuses, perhaps people who would not have been on the college campus otherwise, encouraging those people to continue their education, to gain those skills and credentials necessary to be able to participate in the economy.
Because of the development of the technical and community college system, what does that bring to Louisiana now and the people here?
Just as one example, most recent census data released this past year in 2016 shows that the numbers of people who are able to participate today as a result of having a college degree or having an industry-based certification has gone up by some 160,000 in the last decade. That's real impact on the people of Louisiana, and oftentimes our message in the Capitol is real simple. We are helping to put people to work. And the one message that I hope everyone understands in the middle of all of the political discussions is more people educated and skilled, more people working, more people paying taxes is good for all of Louisiana. That's what happens at our community and technical colleges.
All right. All the best to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
It.
Yes, sir.
And we've got some other education news. Next week begins Louisiana's inaugural Early Education Week. It's an awareness campaign to highlight the importance of access to high-quality care and education for children up to the age of 4. The event features classroom readings by legislators and business leaders. It is sponsored by Energy and the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. This week, Louisiana Public Square focused its attention on the early childhood issue and featured parents and child care providers sharing their challenges with education and business leaders.
We heard earlier in the show that 42% of Louisiana working households struggle to meet a basic survival budget. And that survival budget is inclusive of the expense of child care, which is the largest expense for a family with preschool age children. It surpasses housing, utilities, taxes, transportation.
I have 2 kids, and annually it's $13,000 for both of them to attend where I work at. And overall, me and my husband clear annually $25,000. So at least half of our income has got to go to childcare. Like, if it wouldn't be for my director working with me, then we wouldn't be able to send our kids there. I wouldn't have a job. And honestly, I don't think the kids in my class would have a good situation because I wouldn't be their teacher.
Well, as someone who has worked in this space for a very long time, I agree with everything that's been said, and the fact that we're having this discussion today is so exciting from the perspective of the workforce, because I think it's critical to understand that this is a 2-generation opportunity where by investing in this, you're helping parents be able to work and children be able to be successful in school by starting kindergarten on grade level. But having said that, being the cynic that I am, for 10 years we've been saying, we don't have money now, we need to wait, and we've been cutting, and we've been cutting, and we've been cutting. And at some point, we need to put our money where our mouth is. If we care about this as a state, at the end of the day, our budget is our policy document. It's our priority document. We can say we care about this, but if we don't fund it, then we don't get to say that.
Teachers in childcare used to be just required to be 18 years old. We've increased that so that now every teacher has to have a Child Care Development Associate's degree. That's a serious step up in terms of the requirements. Unfortunately, tax credits are helping us fund some of that. So we're trying to narrow that gap. Teachers do get training in diagnostic work as part of that experience, and then we have a comprehensive rating system that our center directors, as Judy and others will note, is based on the class system from the University of Virginia. That too has an element regarding assessment within it. But I will tell you that of all of the domains of that system, we're doing great at socio-emotional environments and creating a supportive experience for students. We're doing great at creating an organized setting. Our teachers are fantastic at creating an environment that's conducive to kids' emotional development. But we're struggling, as is every state in the country. How do you help nurture them cognitively? How do you model language? How do you ask questions? And when you really look at the brain science, it's those activities that too many of our young people are missing at home. We've got to make sure we're providing it in their child care centers, Head Starts, and pre-Ks.
We've got to think outside the box on this. I think we're fooling ourselves if we say we can just go and just throw another tax, another revenue stream, because that's the same excuse you have for why LSU can't be great, why we can't have a bridge. Everything has that same answer. And I'll give you an example. The state of Arizona. They have gone and they basically said, okay, how much are we giving through the state funding formula every single year for K-12 kids for parents who are poor? And if you want to take those dollars and use them separately, maybe it's for a private school, maybe it's to mix daycare and with tutoring and with another curriculum. Give poor parents, or at least low-income parents, the choice they have. I think we should adopt something like that here and start with either special needs or early education. For instance, if you're a parent who's low income and you know that MFP formula is going to pick you up in first grade or kindergarten, if that parent's saying, you know what, the school I want to go to, I want to take it as a voucher, go to a private school and I'm going to cost the state less, let me capture some of that savings and start on the bottom side.
I will commit to having an education meeting, a joint education committee meeting, for y'all to come, tell me your story, tell it to the people who make policy, because I don't think it's out there like it should be. So if you're willing to come to the legislature and give your story, I'm willing to ask them to have a joint education committee, and I believe we'll have one, but y'all have got to show up.
Early Education Matters re-airs this Sunday, January 28th at 10 a.m. on LPB. You can visit lpb.org/public square for more information. It's been called the Mother Church, and like a mother leads her children, Mount Zion, First Baptist Church in Baton Rouge, has been called upon to lead throughout its history. This weekend, the church celebrates its 160th anniversary. SWI now takes a look at what a history it has been.
160 years with one organization, let alone being a church, is phenomenal.
Sandra Temple Hall has been a member of Mount Zion since 1987. She calls it home. If home is a refuge, then Mount Zion has surely been that. The idea of the church was born in 1858 from two ministers, one black, one white. 8 others joined that first flock. Records show, 11 years later, this purchase of land for $275. The contract describes where the church was to be built, it being a corner lot and measures 64 feet front on East Boulevard Street and 128 along Spain Street, State of Louisiana, Parish of East Baton Rouge.
I can just imagine the days when the church was started. It was, I'm sure, a little wooden building, and the slaves or the former slaves were getting together to be together and to share the word of the Lord and studying and singing, and that one opportunity per week for them to be together and to praise God would have been wonderful.
There also had to be a wonderful sense of unity that was happening, that kept those early church members coming back and that brought in more and more new members. The vision of those early church leaders is a vision that continues to this day. This 1885 official map of Baton Rouge shows colored churches of the area. On the corner of East and Spain is Mount Zion. By 1896, Mount Zion had a new church building.
It's hard to even fathom that this church rose to the level it rose, through what it rose, through the opposition it rose through.
Dr. Rene Brown has pastored Mount Zion for 10 years. His calling to the pulpit is one he battled. He grew up in northeast Louisiana Delta country, and farming was in his blood. But as he says, God had other plans for him. Just as in 1949, when the church found itself under the leadership of a new charismatic visionary, Reverend T.J. Jemison. The 1940s had seen the expanding church broadcast services on local radio, and the church was a light of hope not just for the city, but the entire state. The then new Reverend Jemison was about to take Mount Zion to a whole new level.
Because he made the church a national church. He made it a national church.
A beacon of light.
Yes, he made it a beacon of light. He made it that pillar in the community. I mean, it was the epitome of other churches. People came here to see what he had done, to then go back and do it in other places.
Reverend Jemison was about breaking down unfair and cruel barriers, and in 1953, the preaching civil rights pioneer organized the Baton Rouge bus boycott. It was the first large-scale stand by African Americans against a southern city's segregated bus system. Johnny Jones, now 98, was the young lawyer Reverend Jemison asked to handle the landmark effort. Even though Jones was just 15 days out of Southern Law School, he believed their case would prevail because he trusted in the law of the land.
The 14th Amendment had passed. We had that. 13th Amendment had passed. All of those things had already altered the situation what brought about slavery. And why keep on operating under the thing that brought about slavery when everything else was moving forward? We had to make the United States more perfect under the Constitution. And that's what I was trying to do.
In the course of 2 weeks, the Baton Rouge City Council passed an ordinance that reformed the bus company's segregationist seating policy. It served as a blueprint for the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott and Rosa Parks 2 years later. Jones's passion for law began outside St. Francisville in a 2-room schoolhouse his father helped build. Inquisitive as a child, the questions he asked then were ones he never stopped asking, anywhere he saw injustice.
My teacher gave me a history book, and he couldn't teach it to me. But I was in 5th grade, and every time I would ask him something, he just said, keep reading.
The book that captured the imagination of a young Jones was written by then U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice Charles Hughes. Throughout his life, Jones endured indignities. He faced threats from the Ku Klux Klan. A cop beat him during a traffic stop because of the color of his skin. But he pressed on and endured, and the body that made up Mount Zion had his back.
I was looking at the present and predicting what today might be. I was always interested in what changes could be made and what role I should play.
In 1954, Mount Zion moved into its present-day church building, which was a first of its kind in Baton Rouge. The architect, local and national legend A. Hayes Town. Hall believes what's special about Mount Zion is that its heart has never skipped a beat.
You just don't see people and groups of people being together and staying together that long. There's always somebody who wants to do something different or go someplace else, but for them to continue to share their lives was wonderful.
What Jones takes heart in shows who he is and what he has seen in his nearly 100 years.
What I appreciate most about life, I can walk the street today without being called a derogatory name. The only time I was practicing law, my name wasn't Johnny. Somebody would say, there goes the end lawyer.
Reverend Brown believes this 160th milestone is coming at an important time in history for the church.
You cannot be so focused on your history that you fail to recognize the need to exist in the future. And if you leave these generations to themselves that are out here right now, you won't have a church, nor will you have these generations. So how do you do that? You take the best from the past, bring it to the present with a view toward the future.
Happy 160 years to Mount Zion. There's a celebratory gala tomorrow night in Baton Rouge, and then Sunday morning worship services as usual at the church. That is our show for this week. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or tablet with our LPB Anywhere app. The download is free from your app store. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs that you have come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook as well. For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow. Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and visit lpb.org, where you can view more stories and leave us a comment. This program is available on DVD. Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.